Hello and a very warm welcome to all of you today. In this session, we are going to be talking about a very critical domain specific test, and that is legal studies. So we are going to discuss how does CUET exam look like when we are going to be giving the legal studies examination, and how do we prepare for it, what is the basic syllabus, what are the things that we should be aware of, किस टाइप का पेपर आ रहा है. So all those things we are going to be quickly discussing in this session today. So I am Jyotpreet, and a very warm welcome to all of you on behalf of the team of Hitbullseye. And let us now quickly begin. So first and foremost, please understand that the CUET exams have been going on regularly in the past few weeks. Over here, we have seen and we've analyzed what the paper looks like. And towards the end of the session, I'm going to give all of you some very important tips and tricks on how to actually crack this specific paper, or what are the critical perspectives जहाँ से questions compulsorily आ रहे हैं हमारे paper में. So let us quickly begin on your perspectives. First things first, we're just going to discuss a little bit of what the syllabus is. Now, we know very critically that the syllabus of legal studies will be focusing primarily on the plus two NCERT books, right? So what all is going to be there under the concepts of legal studies? What all subjects are we going to be, what all topics or chapters are we going to really be covering in the legal studies book? Now, when we are going to talk about this, I'll just talk one by one. The first and foremost, we have the concept of the Indian judiciary. So, we are talking about your polity perspective over here. We are talking about how under the Indian domain, or under, how in the Indian Constitution we have the judiciary, we have the three organs of the government. हमारे पास एक judiciary है, executive है, legislature है. So the functions, features, all the provisions in respect of judiciary have been given critically under this topic, and this is what you're going to have to cover first thing. Second, we have some other topics that are other important topics, under which you have four critical topics. First one is, or subtopics to be precise. The first one is going to be contract law. So the law of contract, the basic provisions, starting with, how is a contract formed, what are the provisions of a valid contract, what are quasi contracts, what are the basic essentials of consideration of a acceptance, free consent kya hota hai. All these things are now given over here. Next, we have the concept of, or the subtopic of criminal law, under which you have bare basics at this point of time of the Indian Penal Code, that is the major criminal law of the country, some provisions of the Criminal Procedure Code. So we just have a brief outline, and we're just going to go through what is the use and what is the basic purpose of the Criminal Procedure Code. And then we have the Indian Evidence Act. So basically, please understand, if I talk about the criminal code or the criminal law as a whole, it is not just IPC. There are basically other provisions also, such as, we have a whole consolidated code in concepts of procedures under the criminal law. And similarly, evidence कैसे लिया जाएगा, what is the basic means, what is the basic provisions, ये आता है आपके सारे criminal law में. तो basic provisions, not in depth, not too detailed. Next, we have the concept of law of torts. So basically, the basic small little provisions that we have in relation of your violation of civil rights. Next, property law. Now, sale of property, immovable property, basically that is what is going to be talked about over here. So selling, transfer, all the perspectives of immovable property are dealt with in this situation. Now, after these मेन टॉपिक्स, बिकॉज दीज आर द फेवरेट अमंग्स्ट एग्जामिनर्स, अभी हम जो एग्जाम्स देख रहे हैं उनके अंदर भी ज्यादातर क्वेश्चंस इन चारों में से आ रहे हैं, बिकॉज यहाँ पे बहुत अच्छे क्वेश्चंस आपके फैक्ट बेस्ड निकल के आते हैं. Right, moving to next, we have the arbitration and ADRs, that is additional dispute resolution methods. Right, so we have conciliation, mediation, and so on. Now understand that this chapter has been given exclusively in the NCERT book. You do not have to go in depth beyond this. So जितना यहाँ पे given है उतना ही cover कर लो. That is going to be very important and very good for your exam perspective. Let's move to the next set of the syllabus. So we have next, that is the human rights in India. So we are talking about the law of human rights. So as we know, we have the fundamental rights in the constitution. तो उसके अंदर हमारे बहुत सारी provisions हैं. आर्टिकल नंबर 12 से लेके 35 तक human rights की बात हुई है. Beyond that, even DPSPs include some of the major human rights that exist in the country. Right. So human rights का जो chapter है इन्हीं चीजों के related है. Then talking about the legal profession in India. So we have, what are the ethical codes, what are the ways by which, the advocates are supposed to conduct themselves, and what are the ways by which, what code or what laws applies to them. This is regarding that. Then there is something known as legal services, that is regarding provision of or providing. Yes, so providing, legal services or free legal aid amongst the persons or the poorer sections of the society. That is what is dealt with under the legal services section. Next we have the international context. International context के अंदर basically क्या होता है? We have something known as, there is a branch of law that we know as international law. अब जब हम इंटरनेशनल लॉ की बात करते हैं, दे हैव टू डील विद वेरियस पर्सपेक्टिव्स, सच एज कि हम लोगों को अगर इंडियन लॉ है और बाहर का लॉ है, अगर कॉन्फ्लिक्ट आता है तो विच लॉ विल प्रिवेल. सो डोमेस्टिक लॉज एंड द थ्योरीज दैट आर देयर. Similarly, what are the international organizations that we recognize and we are a part of? Treaties कैसे होती हैं, कौन सी treaty हमने किस time पे approve की थी या sign की थी. So things like that have been given under this chapter. Right. So this is up till here I have discussed what all has been given under in your +2 book, or that is your NCERT syllabus book of legal studies. But there is one thing that has been mentioned exclusively in the CUET syllabus, and that is legal terms and maxims. Right. Now this, though it's not a part of your book as it is as a whole chapter, however, please understand in the chapters that you're going through, you will find certain legal terms and maxims. So talking about law of torts, we have something known as injuria sine damno or damnum sine injuria. So some very critical terms that are usually used. So we have so many terms that are there that we are using in the day-to-day court language. So though they are not exclusively listed in the books, but उसके साथ प्लीज रिमेंबर ये आपके चैप्टर्स में कहीं ना कहीं विजिबल हैं, एंड ऑल्सो यू कैन ईजिली फाइंड अ लिस्ट ऑनलाइन ऑल्सो जिच यू कैन ऑल रेफर टू फॉर these legal maxims and terms. Meanwhile, while I am talking about this session, if any of you have any doubts कि समझ नहीं आ रहा कैसे करनी है चीज़, ये वाली चीज़ का पता नहीं है, want something tricky that's something that you would need some help with, so do let me know in the comment section and I will accordingly answer those doubts. Right. Moving ahead, let's talk about what is going to be the paper of the exam, and that we have already been seeing in the actual examinations that has been coming. Now the total number of questions in this exam is going to be 50 questions. Here, however, you get the option of a choice. आपको सारे 50 के 50 नहीं आंसर करने हैं. You have to attempt only 40 out of 50. Right? So you get the choice of attempting 40 questions out of the total 50. Total marks for this paper is going to be 200 marks, right? So यहाँ पे every question is going to carry 5 marks. So accordingly, maximum marks that you can score is 200 in this specific paper. Negative marking of 1 mark is going to also be there. So every wrong answer carries a negative mark, that is 1 mark. Now, moving a little ahead, let's talk about what kind of papers. Now let's talk about what kind of papers have been coming. We have been constantly, our whole team has been analyzing किस type का paper आ रहा है. We've been in touch with a lot of students and we've been having conversations with them regarding क्या आपके paper में आया था, what is the best way, and accordingly, we are trying to, create a whole analysis of what has come up in the paper. First and foremost, questions सारे static concepts में हैं. Please understand, when you are studying law, you come across 2 kinds of studies. एक होता है जी static law based study, जहाँ पे आप core subjects को पढ़ते हैं, and the second is basically जहाँ पे आप current नॉलेज को पढ़ेंगे, करंट लीगल न्यूज को पढ़ेंगे. यहाँ पे क्वेश्चंस दे वर ओनली बेस्ड ऑन स्टैटिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स. हाउएवर रिमेंबर लीगल अवेयरनेस अगर हम बात करते हैं, करंट नॉलेज उसका यहाँ पे कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं आया था, तो स्टैटिक कॉन्सेप्ट्स के ऊपर आपका पेपर बेस्ड था. Second thing, the questions are coming in from only the NCERT book. Now, the questions are not coming from anywhere beyond the book. They are not asking you any question outside of what is written in those pages of the book. So, NCERT book is very, very critical for all of us. Next, questions again only from plus 2 book. Now, please remember, legal studies is a subject for plus 1 as well as for plus 2. However, यहाँ पे क्वेश्चन सिर्फ एंड सिर्फ एज पर द गाइडलाइंस प्लस 2 की बुक में से ही आए हैं. देयर हैज बीन नो क्वेश्चन गिवन sorry, there has been no question given from the plus 1 book in the exam. As of now, किसी भी बच्चे ने plus 1 के सिलेबस से कोई भी क्वेश्चन नहीं देखा है. Now understand that there are some, not all, I am going to write some application based क्वेश्चंस. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, यहाँ पे सारे क्वेश्चंस में एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड, जिसको हम रीजनिंग नॉलेज कहते हैं, वो नहीं थे, बट कुछ जरूर थे. सो यू गेट दैट चॉइस वेदर यू विश टू सॉल्व सच क्वेश्चंस और नॉट. बट इनका जो लेवल था क्वेश्चंस का, दे वर नॉट वेरी डिफिकल्ट. नाउ प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस है, बुक में से क्वेश्चंस हैं, तो बुक के हिसाब से अगर आप बुक को अच्छी तरह से कवर कर लेते हैं, आपके लिए ये पेपर काफी ज्यादा ईजी रहेगा. And then they were evenly distributed topics. So you know what does that basically mean? अब हम जब पेपर को देखते हैं, you cannot say कि जी ज्यादा क्वेश्चन सिर्फ इस टॉपिक में से आए हैं या उस टॉपिक में से आए हैं. No, we are saying that the whole paper is evenly distributed amongst all the questions, sorry, amongst all the topics or all the chapters that are given in the book. So ये नहीं है जी you will not find that 25 questions came from one topic alone. No. There is multiple levels, right, and they are all coming from all the types of questions and the chapters that are there in the book. Moving ahead, when we sat down with the students and we critically analyzed कि कितने questions आपके किस टाइप और किस पैटर्न से आए हैं, we got this as our answer. तो बेसिकली जब हम डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस जो हैं, बेसिकली स्ट्रेट फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस, इन विच ईयर वाज द सुप्रीम कोर्ट एस्टैब्लिश्ड, राइट, या फिर द इफ यू आर टॉकिंग अबाउट सम ट्रीटी, सो व्हेन डिड ILO कम इनटू फोर्स, सो थिंग्स लाइक दैट वर आस्क्ड. सो ये जो डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस है, दिस वर 33 आउट ऑफ 50. तो इधर यू नो इट और यू डू नॉट नो इट. सिंपल है आंसर, ठीक है. आप इसमें अपना माइंड एप्लीकेशन नहीं कर सकते हैं. डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चन है, फैक्ट बेस्ड है, बुक में से है, ये है या वो है, दैट्स इट. देन वी हैव 7 questions that were based on principle and facts, राइट. सो प्रिंसिपल एंड फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस की अगर हम बात करते हैं, यहाँ पे आपको एक सिंपल प्रिंसिपल दिया जाता है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, यू विल गेट अ प्रिंसिपल दैट सेज दैट कॉन्ट्रैक्ट्स विद अ माइनर आर वॉइड. एंड उसके बाद एक फैक्चुअल सिचुएशन दी जाती है जहाँ पे अ पर्सन इज एंटरिंग इनटू अ कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विद अ पर्सन और चाइल्ड ऑफ 8 years of age और 12 years of age. इज दिस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट वैलिड और नॉट? तो आपके पास इस अकॉर्डिंगली एप्लीकेशन बेस्ड, प्रिंसिपल और फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस भी आते हैं. एंड देन यू गॉट टोटल ऑफ 10 क्वेश्चंस दैट वर बेस्ड ऑन पैसेजेस. ठीक है. अब इसके अंदर क्या होता है, आपके पास एक पैसेज होता है, उसके अंदर कुछ नॉलेज दी होती है. दिस विल बेसिकली बी एन एक्सट्रैक्ट फ्रॉम योर बुक्स, राइट. एंड वंस दिस इज डन, उसके अंदर से आपको रैंडम क्वेश्चंस दिए जाएंगे, राइट. सो यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा इंटेंस, बहुत ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट क्वेश्चंस नहीं है, स्ट्रेट फॉरवर्ड क्वेश्चंस थे from these passages. So this is what the distribution of your paper looks like in the respect of the kind of questions. Now, if you feel that you are better with knowledge of facts, this becomes a better aim for you. If you feel that principle based questions आपके लिए ज्यादा अच्छे हैं, so try to attempt these the most. And अगर आपको लगता है कि you can attempt a passage based question and you're quick in reading, so try to go for these 10 questions, right? But because you're getting a choice, at the end of the day, you have to attempt 40 questions out of 50. So now You have to now obviously give a few practice tests and you will be able to come out with this possible solution कि कहाँ से आपका बेस्ट एक solution निकलता है, जहाँ पे आप कुछ देखो टाइम सेविंग में आप डायरेक्ट क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, टाइम एम्पल है तो आप पैसेज बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, राइट. सो रीजनिंग में अगर आपका अच्छा होल्ड है, सो पिक अप दीज टाइप ऑफ क्वेश्चंस, दैट इज प्रिंसिपल फैक्ट बेस्ड. सो दैट इज हाउ यू शुड बी try to strategize yourself for when you are actually going to give the paper. Let's move ahead and talk about some more things. Right. So now please understand that there is a balance in the paper between a fact-based situation paper, questions and reasoning-based questions. So fact-based questions direct questions हैं, answers आपको direct आएंगे. Best thing that a lot of students have come up and they have said that they जो पेपर था उसके अंदर सबसे ज्यादा डेट्स के बेसिस पे क्वेश्चंस आए थे. सो सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने ये पर्सपेक्टिव कब कहा is given in your books, dates हैं आपके पास. So we have 26th of January 1950 for the inauguration of the Supreme Court. तो वो चीज़ आपको पता होनी चाहिए because वो आपके पेपर books के अंदर हैं. So these are your basic fact based questions. On the other end, reasoning based, यहाँ पे you can apply your principle and accordingly get to your answer in that situation, right? तो यहाँ पे passage based है as well as your direct principle based questions. Now when we see, there is not exactly half division between these type of questions, but majority questions आपके fact based आए हैं, right? So if we see 33 questions directly fact based hain and the remaining were now on reasoning basis. So you cannot say that I'm going to leave all fact based, that's not going to happen, and you cannot even say I want to leave all of reasoning. So you have to prepare from both angles when you are actually preparing for the paper perspective. तो रीजनिंग को भी प्रैक्टिस करो, फैक्ट बेस्ड क्वेश्चंस को भी प्रैक्टिस करो. प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, यहाँ पे अगर मैं पैसेजेस की बात कर रही हूँ और आई एम टॉकिंग अबाउट रीजनिंग, ये उस लेवल की नहीं है जहाँ पे क्लैट का पेपर आता है. क्लैट में द लेवल इज मच मोर स्ट्रिक्ट एंड मच मोर डिफिकल्ट. यहाँ पे कंपैरेटिवली अगर हम कंपेयर करते हैं तो आपका लेवल काफी ज्यादा इजी था इन कंपैरिजन टू योर बेसिक क्लैट. Let's move ahead now. Let's now get to the part where I'm going to talk about some of the tips and tricks on preparing and some last minute tricks that you can use for actually when you're solving that paper. So first and foremost, the most difficult part is that you have to ensure that you go through the +2 book completely thoroughly in absolute detail. जो +2 की NCERT की बुक है, please ensure that you are thorough with all aspects of it. उसमें मार्क करो, हाईलाइट करो, लिखो पॉइंट्स, बट remembering the points is very very important in this perspective. Second, concentrate on fact based knowledge. Please remember, जो पेपर है ये बेसिकली आपके इन डेप्थ कॉन्सेप्ट्स पे कम बट ज्यादा फैक्ट्स के ऊपर है. सो बेसिकली दे आर गोइंग टू आस्क यू डायरेक्ट डेट्स, दे आर गोइंग टू आस्क यू अबाउट डायरेक्ट हु वाज द फर्स्ट सुप्रीम कोर्ट जज ऑफ इंडिया, हु वाज द फर्स्ट लेडी जज ऑफ द सुप्रीम कोर्ट, कौन से एक्ट के थ्रू आपका दे माइट आस्क यू अ क्वेश्चन अबाउट हाउ डू थ्रू विच एक्ट आर द एडवोकेट्स गवर्नड इन द कंट्री, व्हाट इज द प्राइमरी what do you say, they might ask you about what is the primary body that deals with the conduct of the advocates. Now they might ask you something regarding UNESCO or something like that, right? So direct questions hai, fact pe hai. Next, dates are critical. All the students that have come out from the examination, they have said one thing alone, that dates pe bahut questions the, dates pe bahut question the. Now none of us like to prepare for dates because हमें याद नहीं रहती कि ये चीज यहाँ है, ये चीज यहाँ है. So what are the various ways which we can do this? Please understand, pick up a piece of paper and start writing, because until you do that writing perspective, आपको ये dates नहीं याद रहेंगी, because dates are very vague, so it gets very difficult. Either you can do the long way and create a full timeline and a beautiful chart. If you cannot do that, write them down multiple times and try to go through them again and again, because each chapter दैट यू आर गोइंग थ्रू, हर एक के साथ सारी डेट्स उसमें से निकालो एंड उसमें से एक एंड में एक आप पूरा एक टेबल बनाओ एंड उसमें लिखो कि ये डेट्स इंपॉर्टेंट डेट्स हैं. नेक्स्ट, go through the legal terms and legal maxims. Now please remember, at your level legal terms and legal maxims are not going to be very difficult. They're going to be very easy and they are easy to remember. But a lot of us skip them out because we think कि ये तो language थोड़ा अलग लग रहा है, थोड़ा इधर उधर लग रहा है. No, do ensure that you go through these because it is guaranteed कि every time you will get some questions from here. And they are very scoring because the meanings are very easy to decipher, right? So legal maxims as well as legal terms को याद करना, आपके पास बहुत लंबी लिस्ट नहीं है, आपके सिलेबस के अंदर पूरी एक लिस्ट गिवन है. Go through all the terms of that in there. Next, अब what is very critical for all of us is कि practice makes a man perfect. So practicing in your mock test, practice test दो, बिकॉज उसी के थ्रू आपको पता चलेगा आपका कौन सा स्ट्रॉन्ग एरिया है एंड कौन सा आपका वीक एरिया है. Until you have absolute knowledge of what is your strength or what is your weakness, you cannot work on them. And accordingly, because हमारे पास अभी pick and choose है, so you have to attempt 40 questions. You should be able to take out from yourself कि कौन से questions में मैं ज़्यादा अच्छा हूँ, किस में मेरा better attempt रहता है. Because some students may be really good in fact-based questions and some students may be really good in reasoning-based questions. So you have to identify yourself and that can only come out from your practice. Last but not the least is do not over attempt. Do not get into that compulsion कि मैंने 50 के 50 questions attempt करने हैं. That is not the situation anymore. You have to understand कि आपने सिर्फ 40 questions आपके valuable हैं and उन्हीं को करना है. It is okay to leave a few questions, right? Because you do not get any marks from those questions. हमने ओवर अटेम्प्टिंग नहीं करनी है, डायरेक्ट चीज है, 40 क्वेश्चंस करने हैं, 40 को ही आंसर करना है. डू नॉट गेट इनटू दैट होल लूप कि नहीं मुझे 50 के 50 क्वेश्चंस करने हैं. नहीं, दैट इज नॉट गोइंग टू हेल्प एनीवन एट ऑल, राइट? सो दिस वाज सम ऑफ द So these were some of the tips that I hope were helpful regarding your CET domain test of legal studies. For more such videos, do log in and subscribe to our channel Hitbullseye CUET. Thank you so much.